You had said, I would love to be able to serve venison, or I would love to be able to serve, a local caught fish or something like that. Why don't you?
There's like egg police in Arkansas.
Really?
Eggs?
Eggs. Show me a receipt where you got your eggs. Because they don't want you getting farm-to-table eggs.
Wild game dinners. How does that work?
Oh, man. Are you trying to get Matt in trouble?
I don't think he's done that.
I definitely have done that. National competitions, global competitions are held in Arkansas for the best fish in the world. I can't serve it.
Welcome back to the Ozark podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Veet, joined as always by co-host of the show and my good buddy, Kyle Plunkett.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Doing great.
We're back, man.
Glad to be back.
We're back.
A whole week later.
We're back at Wren with our guest, Chef Matt Cooper, James Beard Award finalist, and one of the best chefs in the South. And we've been talking all about food and human connection and your origin story for how you started cooking and your concept behind Preacher's Son and Conifer and now Wren. And I just want to kick it off. Well, first of all, welcome back on the show.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it.
What do you think the role of the chef is in playing into the culture of an area, preserving it, but also shaping it? And just your take on the culture of food and how you play into that.
So I think that role has changed over the past 20 years. I think with the emergence of like the major food scenes that have happened and the classic nouveau movement and they came over and started in New York, and people started to see chefs as these public figures. Like where before, like you just like, even where I grew up, especially growing up, like I never thought about like celebrity chefs or chefs, or like I just was like, that's a place, right?
Yeah.
I go eat there. I like eating there, right? And that's also because I grew up in Arkansas as well. Like it's not a thing. Like I know that's different for other places. I know it's different for New York, LA, and some of these bigger cities. Like chefs have always been kind of revered as creative artists that do things. I think that now more than ever, chefs are advocates for not only the local communities and driving the culture and preserving the heritage of those local places, but also global advocates for food change, for food insecurity, for things like that. So the stage that chefs have now more than ever is one that should be held with the most responsibility. I feel like we have the opportunity, especially at this level, to be able to influence in a very positive way our communities, the growth of those, initiate that growth, help it, like nurture it, literally be the fuel that does it. And we can also be the fuel and fire of change in our communities, because people do look to us because it goes back to that, like what binds everybody together. Food does, right? What connects all of us, and it is food. And when you have all these chefs doing these amazing movements, supporting local farmers and stuff like that, like what does that do? It builds a community, and when it builds a community, like I know the stories of so many of my local farmers. They're my best friends. Like Spence from Across the Creek Farms is one of my oldest friends here, and luckily now we've got to the point now when he comes and delivers, we actually get to sit down and just talk for a while.
Yeah,
just talk about life. And he's been in the military. He's owned a farm, and stuff like that for years and years and years. I know his family really well. They're amazing. But all those things like really give us the opportunity to make real change. Like we have, I don't like using the word power, but we have the power or the influence to be able to make measurable change in our communities. And that's an amazing thing. It also comes with a great responsibility, right? Because it could be the wrong change, and then you don't even want to get into what's the right change and the wrong change. We have the opportunity to be able to help change and influence and grow a community in a really positive and healthy way that I don't think we ever did. Just because for some reason, and I understand why, like food connects us all. And when people value That, like I say, when they come to Conifer, when people come to Conifer, or when people come to Wren, or when people go to a few of my other friends' restaurants, like they know what they're getting. They trust what they're getting. And if you think about what that word means, like trusting something or a person that you don't really know, it holds huge weight and huge value. Like knowing like, oh, this is my favorite restaurant. I've never gotten sick. I understand what they're doing. They're standing by it. I believe in what they're doing. I can support that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that gets into people's, honestly, their faith and their morals and values on who they are in their lives. And that has the ability to change everything.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we have an extreme responsibility to, I view chefs as mentors. I think that I didn't even let people call me chef for the longest time, and I still don't care, and I honestly still don't want them to do that because of who I trained under and stuff. But I think that word gets thrown around too much. I think that people go chef, 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 chef. Like in my opinion, to be a chef, you have to have the respect of your team. You have to have the love and admiration. And I know that's not like a thing. Like, why do they have to love you? Because I just don't think you can be a good leader unless people respect you enough to care about you, right? I think that they need to know that you care about them and their families and their growth. And even if you have differences, and even if your differences don't align and they need to leave, at the end of the day, I still think that those people should know that you care about them. Like, we've had to separate from people in the past and things like that. And that's the value that I've always been placed with, is like, that hurts more than ever. That's why I'm the one that hosts those conversations, because I have to think about how my actions and maybe letting that person go or something like that affects their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm removing income that they needed for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that holds huge weight.
Yeah.
And people don't think about that. They're like, oh, this is my business. Like, yes, the business is important. And sometimes we have to do that because of the good of the business, right? And it makes sense. But you have to think about how your actions affect others. And I think that that's we have the opportunity to really make a difference with those actions.
Yeah.
You mentioned last episode about trying to learn backwards or operate backwards.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, just something I've noticed over the years as people have been more distance from their food because less people farm and less people hunt or fish to
Right.
eat.
Yeah.
Chefs are almost filling a leadership niche, or even a kind of a trusted niche, I guess, of who to look to try to reconnect with your food and where it comes
100%.
from and why it's healthy and why it's valuable to eat and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, if I have a foraging question and I'm nervous about eating a plant that I found, I'm probably going to text one of my buddies in the food industry.
Yeah.
Or a chef who's
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, you can eat that. Or, no, I wouldn't eat that.
Because they've connected with those local farmers. They've
Yep.
connected with those local foragers. They've had relationships with years. Relationships holds weight. Relationships hold knowledge. And you can trust that. It goes back to that word, trust.
And in a world that's, I mean, seemingly more and more each day disjointed, like everything is, it's kind of less rooted in place and purpose and all that kind of stuff. And don't even get me on the train of like AI and social media and like
absolutely.
all of that.
Yeah, it tells us what we want to eat.
Sure. Well, it's interesting that a restaurant that has a farm in its backyard is the thing that everybody wants to go and experience.
Yeah.
When it was not all that long ago that everybody ate because of the farm in their backyard.
That's right.
Or because of the farm that was in their community.
Yeah.
Or, it really wasn't that long ago that's how the majority of the world was eating.
Yeah. And that goes back to that voice, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have the opportunity to have the voice to be like, we can still do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can still exist in this way. And if we can't, then we won't be here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's cool that you're bringing it back because it really, if anything, it just goes to show how quickly how quickly the world's changed.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. It's just crazy that we're in Arkansas,
Uh-huh.
that's 90-something% rural and agricultural,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not,
And there's still a hunger for it or a need
that's
for it.
just
Yeah.
And it does exist in other places, absolutely. I think that it goes back to just trying to make a difference in the place you live. Like, one of the people that I do really respect, it's Jonathan, actually, who does and a few other friends. I'll talk about it later probably, but he just said, you have to be happy where you live. You have to make make the place that you live be your home.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, or make the life you want where you live. There it is. Sorry, it took me a minute to bring it out, but make the life you want where you live. And that goes back to like being happy where you are and existing within that place and being able to make a difference within it. Like, because I think humans in nature can't connect with anything if they're just out in the world running around like crazy, if they don't feel like they have a sense of place. And I think that just like heritage, just like where we came from, just like saying food used to always be like that. We used to be like even growing up, like we didn't eat fish unless someone fished something.
Right.
Yeah, brought
Like,
it to
and
you.
someone brought it to me. Like one of my dad's, church members would bring us like, oh, well, I got trout, or I got bass, or this guy, you got to go up there. Like they'd go up north, and like that's when we would eat fish. Otherwise we wouldn't. We ate what was around us. My dad has gotten and I'm gonna like with the Triple Crown. So it is like when you do the bow, like the bow, muzzleloader, and everything every year, and it was about sport, but it was also about making sure that like, and I know this is not a popular belief. I can't eat meat anymore, unfortunately, because of my celiac, and I have some esophageal things because of eating wheat for so many years. It messed some things up. But I still very much care about like the impact that hunting has on society and how we need to from a preservation standpoint, and how necessary it is, not only for our environment, but for feeding families. Like all of the people that I grew up with that I remember, like they didn't eat meat unless it was something they hunted or fished, And like that connection with the land has always been there. And that connection still exists very much so in a lot of places within this state.
Totally.
I think that we have the opportunity here in a place that's like so dynamic and so progressive and so technological and stuff like that, to be like, to show a broader audience of people that grew up in LA, New York, all these places like that. Like look what Arkansas and the Ozarks have to offer,
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Restaurants, really, if you think about any place or town or anywhere you've ever visited, one of the first things that you'll think of is the restaurant you went to, the place that you were at. Like, I think of, even in small towns, when you're driving through places like you mentioned, like going through Stuttgart or going through a small town on the way to the duck lease, or
The barbecue place.
Bro.
And oh my God, we stopped, we went to the river.
Yeah.
Like, oh Jesus, that
that's
barbecue.
like, that's a huge part. Like
Craig's
those,
barbecue? Yes, Craig's barbecue.
those little staples spread
I do know
across.
Craig's barbecue.
Yes, you do.
And I won't tell that story because I'm cutting you off. But I have duck camp connections associated with Craig's barbecue.
Craig's barbecue.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Those little places are beacons of representation of cultures, and they last and they stick there because people value them for whatever that means, whether that's local people have rallied around it and valued enough to go there enough to keep it running, keep it in business, or people come from out of town to go there as they pass through because they value that. And so, I see them as restaurants in general as cultural beacons and truly a representation of what the people in the area around that restaurant value, love, and want to be represented by. And so it's interesting, I know we were talking on the phone before we sat down, having your background in rural communities and growing up hunting and fishing, and tying that into, like, you had said, I would love to be able to serve venison, or I would love to be able to serve, a local caught fish or something like that. But we have rules that are in some ways probably really reasonable, and they make a lot of sense. Otherwise, maybe we wouldn't have them. But I'm just curious, why do you think...
Some do, some don't.
Yeah. What's your take on that? Because you would love to do that, but why can't you, and why don't you?
I mean, I think that, you get involved with... you get into the USDA territory there with that and processing, and
I know nothing about that world.
So we have a huge processing problem in Arkansas. From a local farmer standpoint, like you ask anybody, most of the people that raise meat and most meat animals here have to go out of the state. Spence is different. Spence owns a portion of the processing facility that he has, and he has a USDA inspector and stuff like that for all his chickens. So like that man's like doing it. He's doing like what we're doing, right? He's ordering he's milling all his own feed. right? And then he's raising the chickens, moving them across the land all the time. It's all regenerative, like feeding the land, and so that it comes right back to feed the chickens, and they're surviving off all the nature's flora and fauna that are around, and they're getting a diversity of diet. And then, like out of true respect for the animals that he's put his blood, sweat, and tears into, he's butchering all the animals at his facility, right? And then immediately goes in. So he's involved in 100% of the cycle, that he does with his farm. And the man just does amazing. Him and his family are just amazing humans. But there's a huge processing thing. There's cuts, like all the processing facilities are doing a lot of venison, which is huge, right? But you ask yourself, like, okay, if the same facilities are processing venison, they're also processing local meat that we can serve for restaurants. Like, why can't I get the venison? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because there's regulations. Like USDA will be there for that part of it. They have cleaning measures and stuff like that. So you have to clean the entire facility, before the processing happens. And that's why at certain times of the year, we're not fighting, but we're trying to get local meat processed, but can't because it's deer season. And there's more money in processing privately than processing commercially, because you're paying for that USDA inspector to be there, which you don't. And I don't think I'm wrong here. I might be wrong, so don't quote me. But you don't have to have that with the facility. Has to be inspected. But I don't think you have to have that for the deer, right? Because you're the only one liable, like the person eating it. So there would be a level of, to be able to get local venison that a hunter killed, there would have to be a regulation. It would have to be USDA regulated, right? Which is a whole nother governmental thing. And then you get into big government involved in your meat and and all that stuff and how that looks. So it's a difficult conversation. But no, I'd love that. Like, I can order venison, but it's from a farm that's been regulated somewhere else, probably in Texas, that raises venison. So I'm not going to raise venison. I'm not going to serve venison just to serve it. I would want to support someone who's a local hunter that is responsible, goes and gets my meat for me, brings it, gets processed the way that I want it, and I bring it in, or vice versa, or I get the deer and stuff like that.
But you wouldn't be able to do that today.
Cannot do that. No. Against health code violation, you cannot serve wild game.
Okay, yeah.
It has to come from a USDA source.
Gotcha.
Right.
From start to finish?
Yeah.
Like the USDA sourcing is from start to finish?
No, it's more like it has to be inspected, and you have to be able to get it from approved vendors.
Got it.
Okay. Right. So the farmers and stuff like that, they go and they take, so they don't do it. Farmers take their, so if you got people that raise meat or pork or something, they take their animals to a USDA facility where it's regulated. They get butchered there, slaughtered there, and cut to whatever they've decided, and then it comes back to them. They pay them, then they go sell it to us.
Got it.
Right? Which presents its own unique things, because the specialized nature of what we want in this industry is not always what they're able to cut. Meaning we might not get the cuts that we want, or they might be different, or they might not, when they're used to cutting certain animals, then they go to cut something else. And it's so it's an educational process with our butchers too, and our processors, the people that are doing it. We're like, hey, listen, you're selling me this, and it's got bones for here. I don't have a bandsaw, to cut through all this stuff. I can't do that. I could, but we're not in a position to do we break down everything. When we get fish, we break down whole fish. When we get, lamb and stuff like that, we're not at a point yet where we can do it. We try to be as sustainable as possible and order. So if we're with Hannah Family Farms lamb, I always tell people this, we order for conifer. We saw this problem that was happening where they had this overabundance of ground. Right, because all the chefs wanted racks, right? Everybody wants a rack of lamb, and they're like, what are we going to do with all the other stuff, So they just started grinding the rest of the animal, which meant we get this premium blend of leg, belly, all this perfect fat to protein content and lean meat content. We got this beautiful product, and I was like, okay, they had 1,000 pounds or more, and I was like, I got it. So we just started at Conifer. We just started putting that on the menu. Right, as part of the processing, they couldn't get the cuts that we needed, right, to do all these small specialty cuts like loin and stuff like that. It always has the bone on it, and they're like, well, that doesn't work because you have to think about the customer too. Like people come in from places other than here, and this is a whole nother conversation, but I think I'm probably speaking to the right audience. Is like people want, like if they eat their meat, they don't want fat on it. They want it to be like this piece, this nice little cut of meat, which is great. I get it. Like you're at a nice restaurant, you just want to cut it, but like that was an animal. It's got fat. Fat preserves flavor.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna cook that, like, you know, because if you take it and put it on the plate, and it's this big, huge pork chop, right? You put it on the plate, and it's got this huge fat cap, right? They cut that off. The perceived value is that you just got this much, this tiny little amount. When you're like, no, we thought about that beforehand, so you got this huge portion that gave you the portion you needed, but we insulated the fat, the flavor, all the natural things with what the animal had, right? So it's a constant, like, and I get it, like you don't want to eat all that fat, but like it's an animal.
I
you
do.
know?
I like the fat.
That's right. But and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like
Right.
there's people that can't have it. Like, dude, I want meat, but I can't have it. Like my heart, like I got a bad heart, like I had terrible cholesterol, and it's not my fault. It's genetic. And there's all those things. But the processing is a hard thing. I would love to be able to have. We have some of the best freshwater fish in the world. People from all over the world to fish in Arkansas. Like national competitions, global competitions are held in Arkansas for the best fish in the world. And like, I can't serve it.
So why not? Because in some places you can. Like, I don't know about how it was in Portland, but like when you go close to the coast, I feel like people can go to the fish market and buy that day's catch from the local fishermen. And it is a wild caught thing, I would think.
It is, but it's regulated. So they had to prove through their business that they're using fishermen approved by da-da-da-da-da-da. And so there's regulations within that that they're able to do. Like, I mean, that's what we do. Like we, in our connections with Oregon, and we use a company called Foods and Season, extremely responsible. I've worked at Kelsey with my rep there. I've worked with her at three different companies. I just follow her wherever she goes because she's amazing. And still the only woman in the world that calls me Toots. It's hilarious. I'm like,
Story there.
yeah, there's a story there. I have no idea. She's like, I was like, oh, whatever. It's I love you. It's cool. But she, you know, we use a lot of day boat things, and what that means is it's a very different thing. So you have a boat, you have a private fisherman that has his fisherman's license, right? It's regulated. He goes out for the day, catches as much fish, comes directly back and sells it to a fish company. That fish company is inspected, they have to be approved by approved vendors and fishermen and stuff like that. So there's multiple steps of regulations to get to that point. And then they have the ability to sell to restaurants.
Yeah.
Right. And so we just don't have that. Something about, like, they have it in the Great Lakes too, like freshwater, Great Lakes, boom. They have those things, big things. I just don't know why we don't have it here. I don't know if the Arkansas Game and Fish would have to get involved and figure out what that regulation looks like. You'd have to have people that go out and fish, and would have to start a company to do it, and then probably go through a lot of legislation to get it to where you could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people do it, you know, but like at our level, it's just risky.
Yeah.
Especially with venison and stuff like that. You've got like all the regulations. You got chronic wasting disease,
Traceability of it too. Like, was this
and
animal treated
traceability?
well?
I mean, you even have like there's so many regulations. There's like this is a funny one, and I hope they don't hear me. But there's like egg police in Arkansas that come by your restaurant, and they're like, show me a receipt where you got your eggs, because they don't want you getting farm to table eggs. So I can get eggs from a farmer, and I can sell them in my farm stand. But if the second I bring them into the restaurant, they have to be inspected by the USDA.
Really?
Eggs?
Eggs,
Why eggs?
because they're not refrigerated and pasteurized and all that good stuff. But I can sell them in the farm stand, right there.
Yeah.
You just can't cook it and serve it.
I just can't cook it and serve it.
What the heck? That's weird.
The egg police.
The egg, please.
Yeah.
Watch out for this.
I was like, what are you talking
police
about?
for them.
No, I loved it because I got like we worked with some local people that were just over the border, and they got their USDA certification for local eggs. So we were, for the longest time, Roaring River Ranch, we were the only people that had like local graded eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything else
Now, were
had to
they
come from a major company.
pasteurized and all that kind of stuff
Nope.
too?
They just were inspected
Okay.
for size. That's all it is. It's for size. Everything's the same kind of size and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's just graded.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
We've got chickens. I've got 14 chickens at home,
Yeah.
and they just started laying.
Yeah, I've raised them. It's hot right now. They don't want to do anything.
Yeah, it's hot, but all of their eggs are different shapes, and we've
Oh,
got
yeah.
double yolks, and we've got different colors.
Yeah.
And some are oblong, some
No,
are
that
super
won't fly.
fat.
Just like commercialization of produce and everything else, like everything has to be the same shape, same size. It has to look the same because it's something about that makes people feel comfortable that it's not bad or terrible.
What? It's like it's a natural process. It's
It
probably
doesn't.
not going to look. The
It
same.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Like the whole heirloom thing. Like everybody's like what heirloom? Like it's such a. We throw it around. We have plenty of heirloom varieties of things growing. All that means is that we're growing stuff before we decided to screw it up or mess it up.
Yeah, that's like GMOs, right?
Yeah, or just like before we modified it, how it existed within nature at one point in time in history, like seed saving, seed conservation's huge here. We'll start trying to do some different things. We've got 15 rows planted on the backside that was all experimental rows. We're going to grow things that we normally typically couldn't grow here, and if we can, then we'll pass on that pro forma and that success to other local farmers that want to do it. Because all we have to worry about here is growing for this restaurant. And supplying Conifer with the gap in between the gaps in season, because we burn through so much local produce at Conifer that sometimes we burn through it all, and then we're like, but this is why we're here. So it's like we need to fill the gap. What's the gap? We have our own farm.
Yeah.
So they pull from us if they need to, but if they don't, they continue to support all the local people that we support and that need our help as best they can, and then we supply everything for here, and that gives us the opportunity to supply them when they need it.
Yeah.
Let me ask this on regulation. One more thing. People will do wild game dinners, and they'll get around some of those regs by saying, well, you paid for a ticket to attend this event, but you're not paying for your food.
Right. That's like
How does that work?
Oh, man.
Without getting somebody in trouble.
I don't even. So.
Are you trying to get Matt in trouble?
No, I don't think he's done that. I'm just
I
asking.
definitely have done that.
Maybe I'm trying
I've
to get
done
Matt in
that.
trouble.
I've done that a few times. Okay, so it has to do with the regulation of state regulations and what they can actually regulate and police. Right? I could go build a house and have a backyard with an area, and I could have events. I could call them art events. I could be like, hey, this is a gallery, an art event, and at that art event, I could charge $100, and at that art event, I can serve whatever I want. I can serve alcohol. I can do whatever. You're not paying for the alcohol. You're not paying for the food. You're paying for the art. You're paying for the experience. You're buying an experience. This is an experience. Kind of like if you go like painting with a twist. You ever done that? Like you go to painting with a twist. You pay to go learn how to paint. They give you wine.
That's what you're saying.
They don't have a liquor license.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right? And they don't have to, because you're not paying for the wine.
You're paying for the paint.
You're paying for the paint.
Such a funny technicality that
Right?
It is.
the regulation body's like,
It's like-
oh, okay, yeah, I guess we can't do anything
No,
about it.
that's fine. Well, it's what exists for a reason, so that people can like, like it is silly, but like if you regulated that, then it'd be more it would just go off and like
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to do anything with anything. So
Right.
there's a lot of people that do a lot of things. Like we eventually will be a teaching farm as well, and we'll funnel students through here and do a lot of things and hold private events and things like that. But unfortunately, I am a rule follower. Like it was ingrained into me. But I like to exist within that, because if I know the rules of everything, I can push the evolution of what that looks like. And it's a lot easier. So in a way, I can be a rule breaker, because if I don't like it, then I'll find a way to make it and do it where it is legal, where it is within regulation, where it is that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I wanted local eggs. I found them. I just found the one person that was grading them, and I waited, and I had that certificate on my wall, and I waited till those people came, and they were like, show me. I mean, they come up like the FBI, and they're like, show me your eggs. You're like, whoa. I was like, I didn't know this is. I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, and it's like, I don't know. It's like a 25.
They have a little badge they flash
Yeah, it's
with
like
an egg on it.
Yeah,
Egg,
dude.
please.
For
No
real.
Open up.
For real, yeah. Anyway,
We've got to run into these guys.
I want to
somehow.
meet the egg.
they're
police.
gonna show up tomorrow. They're
Yeah.
gonna show up tomorrow here.
Yeah.
It's okay. I order eggs from a company that's approved, so it's okay. But we're always trying to push those limits.
Yeah.
Right. And by limits, I mean like how can we change the regulations to where we can accomplish our goals while staying within the thing. And if that helps us be change makers, then let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. One
Right?
thing on back on the fish, I was thinking about just from kind of conservation perspective and just what we know about fisheries management is I can see where some of the gray area would be of like if you had a guy who was going out and he was catching 10,000 fish a year or something like that, and he was making a profit off of that, selling it to a restaurant, but then you've got on the back end taxpayer money going into the management and the stocking of fish in that lake. It's like who gets to profit off of your taxpayer dollar, and that gets a little bit muddy if you're not.
It does.
If it's
there
not
has to, and that's like we can't just figure out how to get like venison into the restaurant. We can't just figure it out because that doesn't help the bigger picture, right? And we need that. We need regulation on that because it can be taxed appropriately. It can go to the right places. It can be funneled into conservation. Like that only helps everybody. So if we had like a program to get people fishing to do that, and then they paid a tax on it, right? They got their boat, but but at that point they could tax right off their boat. All the other things that come into that business plan and what that looks like come into play now. Like you can take depreciation on your boat now that you couldn't take before. So anything like that, and that's insane. That pays for the boat. Yeah. Right? You can get a brand new boat every 2 years, and just then you can put it into a business plan. You can get a loan on a boat, put it under a business, tax write it off because that's what you're doing. So many great things happen because of that when you're playing by these rules that were set in place to not only help local people, local restaurants, local communities, but also like the bigger governing body do those things so that we can do that. I mean, conservation gets better. You've got more money going into that. There'd be regulations on it because we need to think about sustainability. So like you wouldn't just be able to like go in with people and kill a whole bunch of deer, right? Because there's regulations, right? Those regulations would still have to exist. And I think that's why really it's really hard to do. I'd have to look at the pro formas in places because I haven't lived in places where they can actually do it, so I don't know. But I would imagine there's more regulations. So like you're on the Great Lakes, it's more like the ocean, right? You've got this abundance of fish. You can be a commercial fisherman. You are allowed so much of this, and this. You stay within those regs. And then you can sell. There's not those systems in place, nor would they be. Like what you get, like I don't even remember because it's been a long time because I work in kitchens like 16 hours a day. But like however many fish you can catch in a day, like how many fishermen like would I have to be employed to be able to sustain this restaurant?
Yeah, probably quite a bit.
You know what I mean?
So
and that's really I think the physiological problem with how we do it. Yeah, and if that takes away, like we would never want that to take away from the population of people that rely on wildlife to feed their families. Right, which is huge. Yeah. Like I'd love to serve local fish, but it goes back to like local farmers and how we're supporting them. Like if I've got farmers here that are doing such a good job at the farmers market and stuff like that, I want their stuff, but like they don't need my help. Yeah. Like I still give them a hard time. Like, come on, man, please. Like it's really good. Yeah. Please. And like, nope. It all goes to them. I'm like, okay, I get it. But it goes back to that. Like we don't want to take rob from Peter to pay Paul or whatever. Like we don't want to take from someone else that needs it. Like I grew up in areas where like most like people that lived out, my friends that lived out in the country, like everything they ate is stuff they killed. Yeah. For the most part.
Even for me, like, and I don't have to do this.
They had huge freezers. Everybody had a huge top-loading freezer, and it was full at all times. Yeah. Right? And that's what you ate off. Like, you go to the store to get, like, milk, if you get, unless you didn't know whatever, like the essentials or the snacks, and then everything else you ate out that freezer.
Yeah. Even for me this last year, I've not bought ground beef since last September because I've just been using the venison that I've had. And I don't have to do that, but there are families that rely on that to supplement their food source
100%
and their food supply. And so, it's a complex issue for sure.
It is a complex issue. I would at some point be able to love to be able to and I think this would be the restaurant. I don't really think that there's an environment in which you could have this huge restaurant that's burning out all this fish because that doesn't look sustainable for our tiny little state, right? It doesn't really make sense. And I think people in the wildlife area would probably agree with that. But it would be nice to be able to highlight in small amounts. So we could do that here. We could run something for a week and be like, hey, this is like smallmouth bass from, and this is who, Johnny Walker caught it.
Yeah. Johnny Walker.
And we love Johnny Walker. That's one of my friends actually. It's a real human.
His name's Johnny Walker.
But yeah, but
It's not just the scotch.
no, it's not. But yeah, he's a sailor. He's great. I love him.
That's cool.
But yeah, so it's like there's a lot of those. But that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it'd be
So
a
we can
really
always
cool thing to highlight.
and then it also by doing that, I think it provides awareness. It does that. Like I think it really helps the conversation of conservation and what that looks like, because for the people that don't live in the country, the people that don't fish and don't hunt, they have a very different view of what that looks like.
Right.
Like a very, very different view of what that looks like. Like, oh, you're killing all those animals. Like, one, that existed in nature, whether for forever. And if it didn't, then nature would take care of that through viruses or small things that happen in nature and stuff like that, in a culling of populations. We help that by managing our ecology and our wildlife efficiently and effectively. Right. And there's problems within that, right? But like
you can't take humans out of the equation.
But you can't take humans out of the equation.
Nope. Yeah.
So you're not going to solve that daggum problem overnight. But I think the opportunity would be really cool eventually.
Yeah.
We're always trying to think about how we can do it.
Yeah. I knew I liked you.
Yeah.
I knew it.
We're trying, man.
All right, one last thing I want to ask you about, and this is something that our buddy Rick Spicer, we've had him on the podcast before, and he works at Pack Rat Outdoor Center in Fayetteville, so a lot of people probably know Rick. But you guys together have been putting on some outdoor over the fire primitive cooking clinics.
Yeah,
and I just think that's awesome, and you've taken something like primitive fire cooking, which is so elementary and basic, and it goes back to like the beginnings of food, the origins of food and creativity, and you're elevating it with your skill set and your knowledge of food. And I just want to hear, like, why do you do that? Why is that fun for you? And how different is that going from like a state-of-the-art kitchen to cooking over a fire? Are they very similar, or are they very, very different?
I think they're extremely different. Rick reached out to me with this idea a few years ago. I think we've done 3 winter loggers now. And he's like, hey, I teach this like survival class. It's about like 16, 20 people out in the Ozark National Forest. And he's like, we just kind of take some stuff out there. And they're like, we hike in, right? And he's like, it's like in January. It's cold, like, there's no cell phone reception. There's no running water. There's no anything. It's like you have to bring filtration systems to go and do it. So you're learning while you're learning, right? And he was like, "Are you interested in anything like that, like cooking for that many people, and what would that look like?" And immediately I was like, because again, like I don't get the opportunity to connect with nature the way that I used to, right? Running, I love what I do. I connect with what I do. I love the value of human connection, and you're not supposed to say but, and I love the opportunity to be able to get out and literally put my phone and not look at it for like 3 days and just look at a fire, and it's very different cooking. You have to, but it's similar because in a kitchen, you're thinking about what the guest needs, what timing is, when the next course is coming, if they're finishing up, are they set with their silverware? Like, is everything ready, right? Is everything ready? Are you on time? Are you communicating with your staff? Is the dance happening, which is this beautiful thing when we've worked with someone for so long on the line. You've got tickets all over the rail, which is what you're looking at all the time. And like, you've got, the most beautiful thing about this industry, I think, is then when you can pretty much close your eyes and move around each other and finish each other's dishes and know, like, I'm sauteing the lady cream peas that we get from Grady, Arkansas, and from Hardin Farms that I've known for 20 years. One of the first, like, I'm sauteing those with the Bing liquor that we made from them, and I've got that, and I'm looking over, I'm grabbing herbs, and then my chef Tommy and my chef Christine, my co-chefs, they're with me right there, and then I'm putting them on the plate, and then suddenly the lamb that goes on top of it just is on there from one of them, and then the next person is like putting the final garnish of like black mulberries from Jesse at Firefly Farms. It's a nurse that has 3 generations of fig trees growing, but he also does mulberries, and he like brings them to us as soon as he drops. So like you see like the connection and all those things, like, and it's really beautiful. You get the same exact connection out there with the fire because suddenly everybody's doing the class, right? But the fire has to be ready, and it takes. One year we were out there, and we knew it was going to be bad. It was like, it wasn't last January, it was the one before last, and that's when we had that huge snow. Like huge snow. And we're like, okay, it went from, and we knew it, and we explained, like Rick sent an email and he was like, hey, listen, like they're calling for like, 3 inches of snow, 5 inches of snow, something like that, like could go down into like the negative tens out there with us. He's like, so the class is going to shift a little bit. Anybody that doesn't feel comfortable, like you will absolutely be safe. But like if you don't feel comfortable, then that's cool. Don't worry about it. Everybody showed up, and we had to completely change the physiology of our camp. How the heat encapsulated into the fire, and it went like from the previous year. It was like I could look at the fire and I could have it ready in like an hour. Like to do live cooking fire, to be able to manage it, like you don't want to burn things before they're cooked. So you build a huge fire, you move it around as it comes down, and you wait until you have the perfect embers, and you have different spots and different heights at things. But we literally just take like a little fold out grill that goes over it, and I bring the pots that I want because we hike everything in. So everything I'm going to cook, I have to bring with me, and like I bring in like one big ice chest for like 3 days. So I do a lot of prep beforehand, right? Because there's like functionality and what you actually have to be able to do. But like I'm not bringing electricity and stuff like that. And there's a lot of cooking. There's a lot of cutting that happens. There's a lot of stuff like that. But, we think about that. So the same thing goes into it. We're thinking about the physiology of the space that we're in. We're thinking about the limitations of the elements and whether it be the gas or anything else. But the difference is it's you just everything else around you, because all the noise is gone. And it's just you and a fire and thinking about how you don't want to burn stuff. but it's really a beautiful experience. I've always had a connection with fire. We always grew up, like I said, going to the deer camps and the duck camps, and after a day of hunting, there was a good drink, and there was your friends and a fire. And that lasted until, maybe you had too much to drink or until you went to bed. I'm not a drinker anymore. It's not because I don't have a problem. I'm responsible for too many people's lives, and I have control issues. So I'm like, I don't want anything to have control of me. But it is a really amazing event, and we have a really good time. People learn a lot of great survival knowledge. I mean, and it's a very serious class. They teach you primitive survival. They teach you how to build a primitive structure. I learn something every year because I'm still doing the things, right? It's just become something like that Rick has this passion for and has for a very long time. And I really get to see like all of his friends that come in, and I know them now, and I get to see them. So it's like I get to see like friends that I don't ever get to see because they have their world, I have my world. And then once a year we come together, and it's like we talked to each other yesterday, and it's great.
Yeah.
There's that human connection again.
Yeah.
Always human connection.
But it's great. Like
so
the fire is just like everything just goes away, man. I don't know if any of you, like anybody looking at this or listening to this, but if you just stared at a fire, like, and everything goes away.
Oh, it does.
Because there's so much happening in that creation. Like you're looking at creation. You're looking at the first thing that made us and gave us the ability to take care of ourselves other than gathering. Like, that's when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think someone said this, and I don't know who, but they say that like food was the original version of creativity.
Yeah.
Taking something and doing more than just the function of I need to eat and get nutrients.
Yeah. Instead of just killing something and eating it raw, somehow fire came into it.
Yeah.
And when fire entered into that elemental, like everything changed.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just going back to that. And there's something evolutionarily like connected that connects us all with that. I think that's why everyone has a connection to it. You call it an evolutionary marker. You could call it like back to our days when we were in caving, like while we yawn. Scientifically, it's always a fun thing to talk about. But you're like, when you yawn, I yawn. Why is that? Well, obviously, there's a scientific reason: a lack of oxygen in your brain, you're tired, etc. But the reason you yawn could be argued. Someone will argue that back to when we were caving, it's called an evolutionary marker. When I yawn, it was a signal for all of us that we were all at the end of our day. We were exhausted. We were hunting. We were gathering. And it was time. It was time for us all to settle. Right? unless there's just some magic happening that I don't know about. But you can't fight it. Like you see someone yawn and you're like,
Oh, here it comes.
God, here it comes. You know. So anyway, it's an amazing experience. There's so many laterals and there's so many differences that I really, really enjoyed. That being able to disconnect and connect again with the land that literally made me, is insanely connective and meaningful. Knowing from where, like just knowing where I came from.
Yeah.
So many good memories of growing up with my friends, just out in nature, no phones, no nothing, making up things, playing, or even when I was older, just being out there. Yeah. I just wish more people could like experience what that feels like to actually disconnect and be a human.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we were born to do. All this other crazy stuff is beautiful and amazing, and it gives us all these comforts. But like, without knowing where we came from, it's hard to know where we're able to go. Most times.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Anyway,
So in your cooking and in your life philosophy, sometimes you got to work backwards.
sometimes you got to work backwards.
It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's
Well,
great.
You and Rick, if you guys are doing that again, I think you're going to have a lot more people like wanting to cook. You just sold it to me. I mean, I was getting chills when you were talking about even the dance of how you cook, and I know that's in the line, but yeah, y'all are going to be. There's going to be people like, I'll pay double to go to this camp in the woods.
And
to
it
go
really,
cook
it
with you.
really is like, I mean, we are cooking like really nice food. Like I brought like just to jazz it up. I brought like when everybody got out last year, everybody came out and there was like, you know, I always like to surprise people. Like everybody came out last year and everybody was getting settled. You settle first. And I normally do like a beautiful soup or something like that for the first day because you're unpacking, you're setting up your camp structure. Everybody's approving it to make sure you're safe and everything like that. And I was like, well, hey, if anybody wants like caviar and like Bellinis, and they're like, what? And it was a fun little thing.
so
Like
cool.
I made little pancakes. I brought some like Kaluga caviar and some paddlefish Arkansas caviar that was really amazing. Yeah, and it's just something you don't get,
Yeah.
you know? And it gets people that wouldn't be excited about doing that stuff excited.
100%.
Like we have had people come that were like, I just wanted to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just wanted to eat food. And
Wanted to
then
hang
they're
out with
like,
you.
and then they came back to Winterlager.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because they're like, dude, this was amazing. So again, being able to connect like people's obsession and curiosity and love for food can connect us to all kinds of growth
Yeah. Absolutely.
within ourselves.
Yeah. Awesome, man. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I enjoyed hanging out with you and just hearing your philosophy on all things food, life, connection. I think that it resonates with me deeply in a lot of ways, and just hearing the way that you view things, it makes me think about just a lot of different things. My head just spinning, digesting still. So really appreciate your time.
No, y'all had a great time. I appreciate you guys.